All right, hello everybody. Welcome to Email Group Therapy. This session is presented by Women of Email. My name is Tadia Dache. I'll be your moderator today. So let's meet our therapists. I'll start from my immediate left. So we have Jen Kloss, who's a digital marketing specialist at Insight, a leading provider of technology solutions for organizations of all sizes. She provides consulting strategy and execution for all Insight sales digital marketing campaigns and manages their global email design style, development, and brand guidelines. We have Anna Warner, who's the senior email marketing manager and CRM at SeaWorld. Anna leads data-driven marketing strategies for all 12 theme parks within the SeaWorld Parks and Entertainment portfolio, including SeaWorld, Busch Gardens, and Sesame Place parks. One of those places of which I've been as a child. She specializes in using audience segmentation, behavioral-based indicators, and predictive models to orchestrate automated marketing journeys across the customer lifecycle. Next, we have Sharma Parker, the Marketing Innovations Manager at Atlanta Hawks in Phillips Arena. Sharma is the Marketing Innovations Manager. For the past 2 years, she has led the team responsible for all direct response channels for both the sports and entertainment sides of the business, but truly spends most of her days in her first love, which is email. And last but not least, we have Lee Glass, the Senior Manager, Email Marketing and Production at WebMD. His key responsibilities consist of leading design, development, and campaign strategy of all outbound newsletters to help maximize subscriber engagements and add revenue growth. So these are your therapists. Our issues. So we crowdsourced a lot of these questions that we'll be answering today from people like you, the actual email marketing community at large. These were crowdsourced from the Women of Email group within our Facebook community, Email Geeks, my personal Twitter, just asking colleagues kind of real questions, what's the one thing you hate about your job, or what frustrates you the most? And so we got a lot of answers back, or just a lot of questions that were asked in general, and noticed that they were around these kind of 4 topics around data, subscriber growth, design, and organizational support. These are the issues that email marketers like us tend to be facing. And so we'll go over these questions and your therapist will have answers. So let's get started. The first question, this one was asked very frequently. How do you keep your data clean? I'm going to turn this over to all of our panelists, therapists. Sorry.
I'll start. So basically what you would want to clean your data, you want to make sure that you're on a systematic basis, you're scrubbing your list. As we all know, depending on the size of your list, you can have duplicates. You can have some malformed email accounts that have been inserted into your database. You want to put in a regimen where on a periodic basis that you're executing some sort of a list hygiene that's looking for those duplicates. It's looking for those those email addresses that are bouncing, and they're taking them out, or either taking them out altogether, or you're putting them into some sort of a suppression so that you can keep your deliverability rate clean.
Yeah, I would say do as much as you can to prevent trash data from ever getting into your systems in the first place. So you can do that in a variety of ways. I think the simplest way is whenever someone is entering an email address, for instance, on a form, make sure that you're running a syntax check in the background. So there's at least an @sign with a dot behind it. That's kind of the most basic thing that you can do. And then you can take it a step further, and there's actually a variety of companies you could partner with to do actual email validation for you, whether at the time that the data is being entered or after the fact in more of a batch process. So they can actually tell you not just is the email syntactically valid, but does the domain even exist? And if the domain does exist, is the entire email truly a real email, or is it just junk that somebody is giving you? I think one of those companies is here today. They did not pay me to say any of this, but I'm sure they love to talk with you outside.
Right. One thing that I actually might add to that is also knowing your ESP and how they handle, in particular, bounces. I had a client where I discovered that about 75% of all soft bounces, eventually became hard bounces. And so knowing, like, when you get a soft bounce, just kind of knowing if it's going to not be good, there's no reason to keep that on your data list for, 4 to 6 weeks when you get around to a big cleanup. So really looking at your ESP and knowing, like, not only how they process hard bounces, but how those soft bounces are processed too, can help you keep your data clean a little bit more frequently than as some of us are doing the every 3 month, every 6 month thing. But you can definitely stay afloat and be clean with your daily or weekly sends. Next question. How can I convince my employer and or client to let inactive subscribers go?
I guess I can start on this one. As email marketers, inactive subscribers to a lot of us are like the bane of our existence. And I will say that inactive subscribers are the main reason that I fell in love with the Women of Email group, because I was running into an issue one day, went into the Facebook group, and everyone was really like raising their hand like, girl, I feel you, that happens all the time to me. So the main thing that I've noticed from an inactive subscriber situation, it's about the quality versus the quantity people within your organization, because there are individuals who are like, we need to send an email blast, which always makes me cringe whenever someone says blast, but they want to blast it to as many people as possible, and they don't take into account these people may not have opened an email in like 5 years, like sad to say, but some of the people on your email list may have died. It's possible, guys, let's come to grips with that. So we've had to have that conversation a lot within our organization, because email used to be under sales, under CRM, and now it's under marketing. And so they're like, no, we need to hit as many people as possible. And I'm like, well, trying to show them the value. What's the point in me spending 100% of my time on someone that it will be like less than 1% of us trying to get back into the fold? So with that, I've put in, place like reactivation campaigns. I would like to do those, on a quarterly basis. With us being a sports team, we kind of could have a little bit of leeway just because of the season, but I would definitely say, kind of present that to your organization. Like, we're not trying to let them go. We're trying to give them a chance to come back. But if they don't want to come back, don't be mosquitoes about it. Like, just let them go. It's okay.
Yeah, good.
No, go ahead.
One thing I would add on to that as well is to approach it from an overhead perspective. Does your ESP charge you for the number of leads that you have in your subscriber database? If so, that's a really easy sell to senior managers in the C-suite. Just tell them we can actually reduce costs if we're only keeping the best, most engaged subscribers in our database. Why would you want to pay for people in your database who aren't engaging, aren't buying? It just makes business sense to let people go when they're not engaging.
And if you really need to sell it in, because I know in my experience it has been a very hard sell at times. So if you have the time and the resources, maybe isolate your inactive subscribers and show how much revenue they're truly contributing, email revenue they're contributing. And if there's someone that has not opened an email in years, that number is probably 0. And once you show that to your employer, your client, or whomever, they'll probably understand where you're coming from, more so than you just telling them, that you think this is the right way. Numbers talk, so that would be my strong recommendation.
And I would say too, you want to kind of paint a picture with your KPIs as well. So if you're sending, to these inactives, it's going to hit your open rates and your click-through rates. It's going to be down. So once you take them out and you're able to just hit your engaged users, you'll be able to show your stakeholders that, hey, open rates are skyrocketing because we're hitting people that actually want to receive the email themselves.
Yep. This is a good one. How do you scale your subscribers? How do you grow your subscribers?
I'll go first. So Facebook actually released a new type of ad back in August of 2017, I believe, and
we were one of the first companies that I had heard from, at least in Women of Email, that started using them. They're called Facebook Lead Gen Ads. And it's actually a native form within Facebook that your prospects can fill out to sign up for your mailing list without ever actually leaving Facebook's website if they're on their desktop or the Facebook app. And this is really great because you don't have that friction of trying to drive someone to a sign-up page and then get them to fill out a form, and then maybe they bounce from the page. And then you can also offer an incentive within your lead gen ad. I've seen a number of B2C companies offering an exclusive discount code if you sign up for the mailing list, or a dollar amount off of a purchase. I know I've signed up for several mailing lists that way myself.
So people in this room, at least some of you, are probably going to want to throw tomatoes at me when I say this, but I have had a lot of success with you call it a pop-up, but light boxes. So when somebody comes to your website, not necessarily upon entrance, but at some key point within their browsing session, try to get their email address. And yes, pop-ups are annoying. So there's ways to do it that's not quite so obtrusive. So you can have something that kind of slides in from the bottom corner of your website, or a banner that slides up with some type of value proposition to encourage the browser to give you their email address. And that has been one of the #1 lead capture strategies for me in my career. So I highly encourage you to look into that.
One thing that we do is that we have different peaks within our year. So when our schedule is released, or when we have the second half of our season going on sale, we have different forms that people can fill out to let us know that they're interested in hearing about those different promotions that we have around that time. And so we found that that's been a really good way, especially if we have it tied to a pre-sale, because people will fill out the form and then, kind of check the box. It's like, yeah, I definitely want to hear more about your email. So that has really helped us too.
What are some creative ways to keep subscribers engaged on a weekly basis? And Lee, I believe you had something here because you have quite a number of different newsletters and subscribers over at WebMD.
So, we all have our campaigns that we run on the system, and our subscribers, it can get monotonous, and they can get kind of tired of that constant system that we're sending out to them. You want to kind of break that monotony a little bit. So you want to have that system so that you can scale as much as you possibly can and be efficient, but you also want to take the time out to kind of think of some subsets that you can put in and inject to make it a little bit more interactive with your subscribers. Sort of like what you guys were talking about with the last question. A giveaway, a piece of content or prime content that is really, really, really engaging to them, that breaks away from the monotony itself. What we do is, especially from a transactional standpoint, give something away, right? Give them a lead magnet, or have a free giveaway. There's a company right now, I think everyone is subscribed to them. They have free giveaways like almost every other day. I never got anything for free, but I'm always interacting with them because I'm hoping to get something for free, right? So just because you're saying that you're going to give something away doesn't mean that you're actually doing it, but you're enticing them to keep them active. And what they're doing on that, and what they're gaining from that is they're gaining my activity, and they're getting more engagements from me because now I'm clicking on different items that they see that I'm interested in, and then they can send me another email through their normal email campaign to get me to buy something in the future.
Mm-hmm. Do we have any other panelists with thoughts on this?
It's a really important question, and we learned some facts this morning already, and hopefully I don't misquote this, but I think someone said that only 3% of customers are ready to buy from you at any given time. That's not a lot. That's probably a very small fraction of your email audience. So we better be ready as email marketers to keep them engaged outside of the transaction cycle. I'm lucky that I get to work for a company like SeaWorld that does have a lot of amazing content, and we have stories that we can share about our conservation efforts. And just a couple weeks ago, we rescued a shark, or not a shark, a dolphin off the coast of Florida that had been attacked by a shark. And so we get to tell our customers these great things that we're doing in the world and not just try to get them to buy a ticket every single day. So you have to figure out what's right for your particular company, but just make sure that you're not constantly trying to sell, because you will get tuned out.
All right, this was a big one. I finally accepted that email design simply cannot be created equal due to the different rendering of ISPs. But is there a way to create a more streamlined design process? And this question came from an email marketing person who I'm presuming is a team of one, maybe a team of two, and I've been there, and I know this person is probably thinking it took 45 days to create an email that probably should have took 14. So what are you guys' experiences with the design process?
So this is actually a topic that's very near and dear to my heart. Those of you who know me know that I love email development. I love all the quirks of it. So the lack of standardization between different email clients and devices is a challenge to me that I readily accept. In my organization, I came into the organization and we had 50 different external marketing email templates within our ESP. And there was a lack of standardization between them. So when I was given ownership of global email design and development for the organization, one of my first projects was to streamline that design process and create a modular design system for my team. I'm on a team of 7 digital marketers, and I am the only person who can code. And in our ESP, I was actually able to set up a system for them where I built a framework that I tested in email rendering software. Litmus is here, you can talk to them outside about this. But I basically took care of the testing and the development, and then gave my team the tools that they needed to design their own emails in a drag and drop interface in our ESP. So I've already taken care of thinking about the bugs, the limitations, and they can just get in there and they can tell their story for their verticals that they're responsible for. And I really recommend doing something like that. Standardize your process, give people the tools that they need to succeed. You'll save yourself a lot of time and trouble.
Is there an easy way to get my non-email colleagues to come to design compromises quicker? It sounds like a lot like the last question, but this is a different question. I think we can all relate to maybe you are a developer and just some regular digital marketer has given you a complicated email that you cannot possibly design. It doesn't work, but they have seen, you know, X brand over here sent this entire email as an image and it seemed to work out just fine for them. So why can't you do the same thing? They just don't understand those sort of quirks. So what are your experiences with mitigating that?
So one of the things that I've actually done to address questions about specifically image-only emails where you're simply splicing up a design that a designer has created in Photoshop and then coding it into a simple table-based layout is I show my colleagues what an image-only email looks like in Outlook if someone has images turned off by default. I'm at an enterprise B2B company. Most of our clients and subscribers are using clients like Outlook and Lotus Notes that are very difficult to develop for, and we need to make sure that we provide the best user experience possible. So I'm not shy about explaining to them why we can't do certain designs. We need to work within our limitations to provide the best experience. And I'm very open with them about my rendering tests too. I'll actually show them this is what a render looks like in this client or on this device if we go this design route, and this is why I'm recommending this approach instead. And I found that by educating people and being very forthright with them about why you want to make the design decisions that you're recommending, they will typically come around.
Does anybody else have anything to say on that?
I think just be ready to educate. So I worked at a multi-billion-dollar retail brand. I won't say which one, but every single email that we sent out had to be reviewed by the president of our company. And so, he was definitely a non-email colleague, but a very important one. And so, there were, of course, a lot of subjective opinions, and is this the right font color? And you have to really be ready to, like Jen said, educate, and make sure you have business reasons to back up why you're making certain decisions, and don't just let it be a war of opinions. And my last ditch solution every time, if you really cannot come to a compromise, test it. Just test it. Let the math answer, make the decision for you. Math wins every time. So that's kind of how I've approached that in my past.
All right. Where do you look for email design inspiration?
I could take that. I look for email design inspiration in a lot of different places, but there are 4 main places that I go. Number 1, my own inbox. I have, people have burner phones. I have a burner email address, which probably a lot of you do.
Yep.
That's where I send all of my promotions to. Kind of an antiquated practice now that the promotions tab is there, so I really shouldn't have to do it, but I still do. So I get a lot of inspiration there. Pinterest, shout out to Pinterest. I don't know where he went, but yeah, you are right there with me at night. So I'm putting, I have my whole email love board, and it's everything that I see, I just put it on there. And with that, it's kind of interesting because I also work with our creative team, and like they're kind of in that board too. So if they're seeing stuff too, they're kind of adding it to it. Really good emails. I know it was said earlier today, but they are also awesome. And then another plug, Movable Ink. You guys know, love you. But I get a lot of inspiration with them because we're redesigning how our emails look, and they have been a really good partner coming to the table with us and showing us what they've seen from other organizations that they may work with and how that can help us. So that's where I go for inspiration.
And also, there's 2 other sites. I go to all those places that she just mentioned, also have a burner email account. But also Milds, I look at, especially for those e-tailers who kind of send a lot more frequently than my previous employers or some of my clients do, and I kind of see what I can pick up from them. And also Mail Charts. I don't know if you guys are all familiar with that site, but it allows you to kind of track companies, and you can see entire email journeys. That's something that I use for more of a competitive insight to look and see, okay, what's this brand doing? What promotions did they pick up? What partnerships are they doing? And then how to steal that for clients and apply those same tactics. It's a lot easier to go through on Mail Charts and kind of see all of that data rather than filtering through the burner inbox, because as you can imagine, that's pretty deep at this point.
One shameless plug before we move on, and I say this genuinely, but I get email inspiration from Women of Email.
Yeah.
If you're not on the Facebook group, join it. I've been a member for only a matter of less than a year now, and I've learned so much. And on a daily basis, some email fellow email colleague out there is posting, hey, look at this amazing personalized video that Southwest just sent me for my birthday. So you get really good inspiration that way, and it's been a big source of inspiration for me personally, and I recommend you guys join.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, how do I best illustrate that engagement metrics and deliverability metrics come as a package? It is not a one or the other situation. Don't everyone just jump at once.
Well, I think our WebMD friend over here mentioned earlier, it really does go hand in hand. And when we were talking about how do I convince my employer to let our inactives go, I think the strongest case for that is the fact that your deliverability could be impacted by low engagement. It is just a fact. And if you're not an email expert, you probably don't understand or really grasp that concept, which is completely understandable and reasonable, because not everybody knows about things like Gmail algorithms and all the things that we in this room geek out about. You know, the CEO of your company probably doesn't know about that. So I think you just have to, again, educate. So make sure people understand that you know, when people are not engaging with your campaigns, but you continue to send to them, the Gmails and the Yahoos of the world, they are seeing that, and they're probably pinging your reputation because of that. And then your ability to get into the good people's inboxes, the active people's inboxes, is going to be negatively impacted, and that's just not something that you want.
I mean, it's a foregone conclusion to me.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're not getting the emails, they're not going to engage, right? So you want to make sure not only that they're getting it, but you're getting it to the right people as well. And the engagement is going to be a clear indicator of that. So even if it's going and you have a great deliverability rate, but your KPIs are low, that means you're not targeting the right people. So they all go hand in hand. You have to be able to discern what's going on once the people are getting the email, why are they not engaging? Or if they're not getting the email, why? And that explains why the engagement's so low as well.
What is the best way to advocate for support in the email marketing channel?
Results.
Yeah.
Right? So even if you're starting small, and I know a lot of us in this industry, we started off pretty small, and some of us we've grown, but we've grown because we've provided results, and we've tracked and we've provided the reports and the metrics to the stakeholders. Once they see that, and we all know also that email marketing, the ROI is phenomenal, right? It's the cheapest form of marketing out there. So they're getting something for pennies on the dollar, and they're getting a lot of engagement. They're going to want to eventually invest more into that channel to get more and more engagement going in.
Yeah. I would add on to that, get familiar and comfortable with your ESP's reports that they offer, or if you need to look into maybe another vendor, another software that integrates with your ESP that can give you that power in your reporting. For example, a type of report that I absolutely love that my ESP has is a report that's called a Program Opportunity Analysis report. And not just for email, but for all of my marketing automation programs, I'm able to see the number of successes in that program, which success is determined by individual channel, but in the case of email, we judge a success as a click-through because we're trying to ultimately get that person to the landing page and then the landing page to convert. But the beauty of this report is it actually shows me the number of opportunities that are associated with those programs, and then the pipeline and won revenue associated with those opportunities. So when you can get those numbers that are really showing, you know, what was the cost per lead in this program, how much pipeline was generated, how much revenue did we win, those are the numbers that your stakeholders really want to see when you're trying to get more investment in your program.
I would also, one more thing. I would also add to educate within your organization, because you may have individuals on another team that just think you just send emails out from Outlook. But when you actually sit down with them and you show them, you know, how email can help them, like maybe their sales reps don't have to be on the phone so much. Like maybe there's something you can do on the email side that can kind of take care of that for them. They will become cheerleaders for your channel as well. So you can kind of have that additional support going forward.
Right. What is the ideal timeline for completing one email from strategy to send? And I could give you some background. This question came, I think I mentioned it earlier, it took this one person 45 days to get an email out. That was like a simple, I know we're pretty familiar with like the postcard style email, so that means there was little to no copy involved at all. So just from that experience, I'm pretty sure there's others of us in this room who have been through some pretty lengthy email processes. What is kind of like that ideal timeline? Like how much time should one need really?
I don't know that there is an ideal timeline, because a lot of it is going to vary based on your organization and the number of people that touch your email campaigns. So if you're working in a smaller organization where you're a one-woman show and you're writing all the content, you're doing all the design, all the deployment, all the analytics, that timeline is probably going to be a bit longer for you. Whereas in my organization, I work in a very large marketing department. We have a content team, an analytics team, a digital marketing team. There's a lot of different people that are touching our email campaigns on the way out the door. So for us, the turnaround time is typically, I would say, about 2 weeks for an average email, but that's also using the modular design system that I implemented. If you're doing interactive emails that aren't template-based, then you're adding a considerable amount of design and production time to that, so your ideal timeline will vary for sure.
I agree with Jen. Your timeline is going to be dependent on your company, the number of resources that you have, how complex are your email campaigns that you're sending out. I can tell you what the ideal timeline is not, because this happened to me. The ideal timeline is not Halloween 2016, you're in Party City at 8 o'clock at night, and your email manager is texting you, do you still want that email to go out that was supposed to go out at 8 a.m.? Can you QA it? So true story. So I kid you not, the very next morning, I got into work and I said, we cannot continue to live like this. So we actually mapped out a process on paper, and we started from the day that the email needs to go out, and then we backed into the timeline. So we said, all right, we know we need X number of days for the email team to set up the code in the ESP and actually execute the email. We need 2 business days to code. And so we backed into it, and we had this process that we socialized to everybody that was involved with the email campaign execution within the company. And the most important part of the success of that was I actually assigned someone whose job it was to make sure that the people who were responsible for certain milestones throughout that process actually met their deadlines. And that was the hardest part of the entire thing, but making sure that there was a process that people understood, that they were bought into, and then you were helping them actually track towards their deadlines was hugely successful for us.
All right, we have reached the end of our therapy session, and we will be at the Women of Email table right outside if you guys have any questions that you would like to ask us. But we do have a special announcement from Jen Capstraw, one of the co-founders of Women of Email, so she's coming up now.
Thank you. I'm Jen Capstraw, co-founder and president of Women of Email. If you haven't heard my elevator pitch yet, we are a nonprofit 501c3 association for women in email marketing. We've got 1,800 members in over 30 countries on 6 continents. A big part of our success to date has been the support from men in our industry who have used their influence, used their resources to help bring up visibility to our mission. SIMS has been a big part of that success. EIQ and Brightwave has really done a lot to support us at EIQ these last 2 years. And men have shown a tremendous interest in helping to support us further. So the announcement that we're making today is that men are now invited to join our mentoring program. We're calling it Mentors. So men will be able to serve as mentors. We're going to open up applications later this quarter along with the policies that are going to guide us in that program. The very first mentor that is committed to the program is Lauren McDonald, who is an evangelist and thought leader that many of us love in the email industry. He's actually going to serve as my mentor because as of this morning, I accepted a role as an evangelist myself at a technology company in our industry, so I'm kind of having the best day ever. And while I'm up here, I want to give a quick shout out to Movable Ink for co-branding with us for this event. I hope you're enjoying the swag in your bag from Women of Email and Movable Ink. Thanks.
Thank you all.
All right.